And we're back, folks. It's hard to believe that we're already at episode 7. We're approaching that halfway point in the season. We've got 3 events in the bag, 4 more to go, and it's getting down to crunch time. And the next one is at Aldo Scribante. Now, I'm a little bit excited about this one, and a little bit of trepidation there too. And the reason is I know Aldo Scribante quite well. I've raced there before. I've had good results. It's been kind to me. But you know, resting on rusty laurels is no predictor of future success. So I'm going to have to approach it just like I would any other, like it's a new track to me, because the guy who's sitting here is roughly 23 years older than the guy who last raced there. So I'm not the same person physiologically, mentally. The track might have some memory for me, but we're in a different car, in a different era. I'm increasingly finding I'm have to drive with a different style. So there's many differences, and we can't simply assume we're going to perform well just because I've had a modicum of success there in the past. In today's video, I want to walk you through where we currently stand in the championship, what the points differential actually means for me now and the approach I have to take for the rest of the year. We're going to touch on 1 or 2 little learnings that I had from Zwartkops that have given me things to work on moving forward. We always have to be refining and fine-tuning to try and find those last few tenths that are just missing. And I think I've got an idea of where they are. And this is based on study. So we'll look at some of the footage from Zwartkops and I'll identify those areas where I think we're deficient. But if I'm to summarize it for you now, I think that really we're at the point where there are no silver bullets. There's no magic thing I can change to go faster. It's about constant and consistent refinement of the tiny little things. You know, if you're looking for 4 seconds around a lap, that time will come to you in chunks as you refine and improve your technique. If you're looking for 4/10 of a second a lap, it's often about the little refinements that help you make those incremental gains. And then just do those things consistently over the period of the lap. We're going to have a look forward to Aldo Scribante. There'll be a track map. I'm going to show you qualifying from a couple of years back in a very similar car and give you some of my ideas on how we will approach the weekend. So stay tuned and pay attention. This is what the leaderboard looks like after 3 rounds. Nabil Abdool up top on 42 points. I'm 13 points behind on 29, and Justin Ford finding some consistency now and is solidly in third on 17 points. A little further down the ladder, Kumbi on 14 in 4th and Tyre on 13 in 5th. Both have showed exceptionally good pace at times and can't be discounted. Naresh is starting to find his form and was certainly a lot quicker last time out. So that's the points table. But what does it really mean for me? We have a 13-point gap here. And mathematically that sounds easy, right? I mean, there's plenty of points available. It's not too late. We can still make up the deficit if we're to stand a chance of winning this championship. And by the way, I don't think you should ever sit in a car without planning to win the championship. Even if it doesn't happen, if you don't set your sights very high, you will never attain a good level. So that should always be the goal, trying to win, right? And to be honest, we've been trying to do that since the beginning of the season, rather unsuccessfully. But on the positive side, we've made great gains every single race weekend and got closer and closer and closer. So even at Zwartkops, I had my best weekend of the year. I qualified way closer to pole than we've been before. More importantly, I did the laps consistently and I could easily pull those sort of lap times. Well, it's never easy, but I mean, I could consistently pull those laps from the car and get down into reasonable territory. Nevertheless, Nabil still beat me and the points gap grew. The only way to address that moving forward is to try and win consistently from here on in. There's no hope sitting here thinking, well, something might happen. Nabil hasn't had a mechanical yet. I've been able to finish consistently. We can't rely on luck. We can't rely on chance. I have to plan to try and be quicker. It's the only way. If I am to win the championship this year, it seems like a long way away because it means I've pretty much got to win every race from now. I cannot expect for Nabil to finish anywhere but second if I'm fortunate enough to beat him. And it's a big, hard task to beat him. So we have to be very focused about what we want to achieve in the next few rounds. Let's look now at an area where I think I'm losing some time, and we're going to do that comparatively. I want to show you something that I'm doing, and I think it's to do with the fact that I have adopted left foot braking, but I don't necessarily have the sensitivity in my left foot yet to be able to do it consistently. And I think there's a little technique thing there that I'm doing that's costing me a little bit of lap time, and I'm going to show you how relative to some of the competitors. Let's just set the scene quickly. This is lap 2 of the second heat at Zwartkops. That's Paul de Vos in front of me. I'm carrying as much speed as I can across the finish line and through turn 1 into the all-important turn 2. Turn 2 and a good exit there dictates all your speed down the back straight. I've carried great speed through turn 1. I'm now stopping as hard as I can, getting close to the apex, just kissing it. In fact, in my opinion, Paul was a little wide there, and I would expect now to have a better exit speed. But just look at how he pulls away, all the way down the back straight, all the way to turn 3. This is a huge time gap. What that footage, I believe, is showing me is that I'm actually overbraking the car. I'm getting the car stopped, hauled down. I'm very disciplined about trying to get to the apex of the corner and have a nice, easy, open exit as we accelerate onto the next straightaway. But what I'm thinking is that I'm knocking off maybe 2, 3, 4 kilometers an hour at the apex because I'm so consumed with getting to that apex. And I think it's the deficiency in technique. I think what's happening, because I'm unused to left foot braking and I'm learning the skill, is I've learned how to apply them. I've learned how to haul the car down to the speed I need to be. It's actually in the coming off the brake that is creating a little issue for me. I think what's happening is, because I don't have the sensitivity in my left foot, as we go to the corner, we're coming off the gas, we're going onto the brake, and we're slowing down to where we need to be, and just at the right moment when we need to come off, I think what's happening is I'm just nipping the brakes. I'm nipping it up just like that before I release. And it's actually as important how you come off the brake as it is how you go on the brake. And I think that sensitivity is not there. I'm going to work very hard on trying to get more mid-corner speed, maybe not make the apex as acute as I have been doing, but I'm going to progressively and easily come off the brake, maybe a little bit sooner than before. In other words, I don't think I need the car to stop as much as I'm asking it to stop. I think it would handle a bit of mid-corner roll speed a little bit more than what I'm currently giving it. And it's really important, because if you carry 2 or 3 kilometers more at the apex, it means you're accelerating from a higher pace. And that gives you the great exit speed. And that's why sometimes when we look at a car in front, and even though they don't look like they've hit the apex particularly well, as we go to acceleration, they seem to be drawing away from us. Now listen, every good racing driver should have a really good book of excuses for when things don't go your way. And I'm no different. It's the first book you read, the book of excuses, why I wasn't fast. And it's so tempting when you look at the footage to go, he's got more power than me. He's just exiting the corner and pulling away because he's got a better motor, or the gear ratio is better, and that's why I'm slow. Unfortunately, there's footage that proves that's absolute rubbish, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with the power of my car and its ability to accelerate. So watch these 2 bits of footage and you'll see what I mean. So we're coming up to the start of heat 1. I've got 3 cars in front of me. Paul de Vos is directly in front of me when we straighten up. Keep an eye on the lights right at the top. We're waiting for them to go out before we hit the pedal, and you'll see he and I hit them at roughly the same time. Look at that, he wasn't getting away from me at all. Hit 2, and it's only Paul in front of me now, and the same thing applies. We both got to hit this at the same time. I think he even gets a jump on me, but look what happens. Easily held in for power. There's no chance of an excuse here for me. To sum up then, off the brakes a little earlier, off the brakes a little bit more gently, maintain a little bit more mid-corner speed and accelerate from a higher apex speed. It sounds so simple to say it, but if you've ever driven anything right at the limit, you know how hard it is to reprogram your brain in that, frankly, stressful moment to do something different, to do something that it's not used to. So far easier said than done, but if you don't put it in your mind before the sessions and actively practice it, you're not going to achieve it. You have to very intentionally work on it, right? How do we practice that? No practice days. When I get to the track, I'm going to have to adopt it there in my 3 very short sessions to try and improve. So it's not a skill that I can practice, or can I? Well, I drive a bakkie. The only thing it has in relation to the car I race is that it happens to be an automatic. And just to keep my left foot educated between race weekends, I've actually converted to left foot braking in my road car. Because you will feel, try this if you've got an auto. The first time you do it, it's clunky and you're on too hard and you're off too abruptly and you lack sensitivity and feel. But the more you do it daily, the more you ingrain that knowledge into your left foot until it becomes muscle memory, until you don't have to think about it every time you apply the brakes. So that's one of the things I'm doing, and I hope that's going to pay dividends for me. Let's talk for a second about those all-important resources, and do not worry, there will be no diagram here, although I might show you a picture. We've been racing since the beginning of the year on our Dunlop rubber, and it's held up incredibly well. But think about that. That's 3 race weekends, 6 races in total, and pre-season testing. Those tyres are getting a little tired and a little thin. And whilst they were still giving exceptional lap times at Zwartkops, I mean truly impressive lap times given the weight of the car and the fact that it's the first time that this particular model is racing there, it's just starting to wear down, a little thin on the rubber. They're getting more difficult to heat up and they're not giving the same sort of adhesion when we hit the brakes. Also, Aldo Scribante is renowned for being an exceptionally abrasive track. That's very hard on tyres. And if we were to continue into this weekend with the tyres that we have, I think we're at risk of wearing through and getting down to a point where they no longer give you any grip, or you just can't build the temp and the heat into them anymore. The same, in fact, applies to our brake pads. So again, since the beginning of the season, we've been using the same set of pads throughout. And to be frank about it, they're performing exceptionally well. I was still getting really good stopping power at Zwartkops, but I had noticed that the pedal is going a little long in the travel as I'm getting onto the brakes. So we're going to go with new brake pads, but new tyres and new brake pads come at a cost. And that cost is you have to bed them in very gently for a good few laps. That means session 1 is going to be exceptionally conservative. We're just going to build temps into the tyres. We're going to scrub them nicely, and we're going to put a full heat soak through the brake pad so that it cures and hardens to just where we need it to be and gives you the maximum bite when you've got maximum temperature. If you do either of those 2 things wrong, the tyres won't give you the ultimate grip, number 1, and number 2, you really risk shudder on the brake pedal, which is something I hate. If you get this big differential between the brake pad and the disc and the heat between the 2, it's very often possible to put a warp into the disc, and that gives you absolutely no confidence on the brakes now when you hit them, because it's actually shuddering and you're not getting maximum braking performance. So we're going to have to allow a little time to do that, to prep our tyres and our brakes perfectly for the weekend. Just before we get into the track map, have a look at this beautiful image shot by Stefan van Niekerk, our official photographer for the GR Cup. That's turn 1 at Zwartkops, and that's the front right. And just imagine how much strain it's under. It's under so much duress, it's trying to climb itself off the rim and depart for better prospects. Beautiful shot, Stefan. Thanks so much for capturing it. Let's now take a look at Aldo Scribante. Another short track, 2.48 kilometers long, almost identical, in fact, to Zwartkop in length. I think it's only about 4 meters difference between the tracks.
but it doesn't feel like a small track. When you drive it, it's got quite an epic feel. There's a lot of uphill and downdale, and as a consequence, it feels like a much bigger track for some reason. It's a clockwise circuit. We're moving from left to right at the top of your screen on the start finish, down to turn 1, Gqeberha. Fairly big stop from 5th back to 3rd, but you do have to accelerate on the exit into that short little straight before the S's. The S's, the first turn in is quite abrupt. We're going to sacrifice it a little to make sure we exit the S's with speed in the following left-hander. It then proceeds downhill into a very fearsome corner called West Bank Hanger. There's not much space on the runoff between you and the tyre wall, and if you get it wrong there, you're going to park a very expensive car in a very big tyre wall with a very big mess, the net result. Down to the hairpin, big stop, banging it back to 2nd, maybe 3rd, but I think 2nd here. Get a clean exit into Bridgestone Sweep. Beautiful corner, it's cambered in at the beginning, but halfway through the corner, the camber neutralizes and often tends to want to spit you out. Then you're down to the final corner, brake late, run deep, come back tight, and get a very fast exit onto the straight.
Okay, so now that we know you must turn right when you enter the track, let's have a look at a good example of a very good qualifying lap. I'm going to show you a lap from 2022. It was driven by a guy by the name of Thomas Falkiner, and I believe, it's hard to tell from the data with the video, but I believe it was in a Yaris manual. And it's a healthy lap time. It's 1:11.270. It got him 2nd on the grid, and I understand very close to the pole sitter, Ashley Oldfield. So this is a very good representative lap. Let me talk you through it.
Folks, I'll attach the link in the description for you if you want to watch it yourself. So we've got a nice exit onto the main straight, nice and smooth up through the gears. We're going to hook 5th just before turn 1. Right about now. Firmly on the brakes now. Quite a acute turn in. You almost double apex this corner. But we're back on the gas quite hard and now firmly on the brakes, back to 3rd for the first of the S's. Run a tiny bit deep there, and it's made us tight on the exit, which is also in 3rd. A little feather on the throttle maybe cost a tiny bit of time. This is Hanger. Huge risk, very little reward. You just don't want to pin it off the side on the left there, particularly on wet grass. Big stop now, hard on the brakes, all the way back down to 2nd. Come tight again for the apex and hard on the gas. Beautiful flow now into Bridgestone. Camber helps you in, but right about here it starts to spit you out, so you've got to be careful about using full throttle. Now look how late you can brake here, right on the 25-meter board. We're going deep and long and coming back all the way around the corner, trying to stay on the power as much as possible and use all of the exit to get the lap. And here we go. That is a very competitive 1:11.27.
Now I'm sure you'll agree that was a great lap. I mean, it must have been. It got him 2nd on the grid and very close to pole. So great performance in a car not too dissimilar to mine. His is manual, mine is automatic, mine weighs a bit more. But I think what it's given us is a fairly representative benchmark to aim at. Just before we sum up, I want to talk a little bit about how privileged I am to be driving these cars. When I got the opportunity to do this season, I didn't take it for granted, because many years ago I'd done motorsport the very hard way, and I knew all those things you had to do and get right just to get yourself to the track, let alone be competitive. This year I get to arrive, step off an aeroplane, go to a nice hotel, get driven to the track, do my laps and go home. It's like being a works driver, which, you know, for somebody like me is something I never thought would happen. But the privilege of it is never lost on me. Toyota have built something remarkable with their Corolla DAT. It's just an incredible car. It's challenging enough to reward you when you get things right, but benign enough not to threaten you when you get things wrong. It's a remarkable car that takes a lot of hammering, and it's just such a big privilege to be able to drive it every weekend. None of this would be possible without the team behind it, who prep the car, who fettle it, who get it on a transporter, who get it to the race weekend, and then attend to you whilst you're there. And I just want to say a huge thank you to the GR team for all the work. It's an immense amount of work that goes into the back of producing the spectacle that you will see when you get to the track. It really is a privilege, and I'm having the time of my life. So to sum up, we're going to Aldo Scribante, a track I know, but I can't be complacent about. We really have to perform well and be at the front of the field from the get-go. It's important now and for the rest of the season that we establish that right up front from the first session onward. The things I'm going to work on are fine-tuning of the things that have worked for me in the past. So it's all to do with the way I'm braking, focusing a little bit more on mid-corner speed, and then I'm going to deploy those things that worked for me the last time out, which is find clean track, focus on qualifying, become very consistent, and make sure that you earn the right to fight at the front of the pack. Folks, if you happen to live anywhere near Aldo Scribante, I promise you it's a spectacle. It's a great day out. I know the local community love their racing and they all rally around the racetrack generally when the circus comes to town. So get yourself out there. It'll be a lot of fun. You know, whether it's raining or overcast or sunny, we're still going to race and put on a show. And I'm sure you'll love it. And by the way, if you've made it this far in this video series, subscribe and leave a like. It really helps get the story out to more people. I'll see you at the racetrack.